of the State of Wisconsin,
of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your faithful service to this county we all love. Thank you, Mr. Benz.
Welcome. Congratulations, folks, also. And we'll have roll call. We start with Mrs. Krentz.
Here.
Mr. Tim.
Here.
Mr. Piaski.
Here.
Mr. Buddy.
Here.
Downey.
Here.
Eckstein.
Here.
Mrs. Palata.
Here.
Mr. Weiss. Here. Mr. Likeness.
Here.
Mr. Crawford.
Here.
Mark Kirschner.
Here.
All right. We'll all stand now for silent prayer and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next on the agenda is public comments. No one's registered, so I guess we'll move on with that. And the next item then would be election of the county board chairperson. So what we'll need to do with this is these first three offices have to be elected as stated on your order of elections. So if you wish to nominate either by nomination slips, the salmon ones that you have in front of you, or if you want to nominate orally, it's entirely up to you, whatever you wish to do. It's your prerogative. Anybody want to make a motion to use slips or would you rather orally?
Orally.
We have a motion to, and second by Kirschner, to use oral nominations. That'll save us using the pad and everything up there. So the floor would then be open for nominations for chairman. Ms. Claudia.
Okay, I nominate Norm Weiss for chairman.
I'll second that.
Is there other nominations for chairman? Any other nominations for chairman? Hearing none, I will close the nominations. And I guess by unanimous consent, Mr. Weiss is our new continues to be our board chairman. So, Mr. Weiss, would you please take a seat? There you go.
Thank you. While we're waiting for Norm to take his place, the annual reports for 2009 have been put by your seats. All the departments prepare these for you. If you have any questions, you can refer to that particular department head or myself. Thank you.
We also have a minute. I'd like to just introduce Nina Harrelson, our new reporter for the Wilshire Argus. So, Nina, welcome. Well, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for your confidence in me as chairman, and I'll try to do my best to keep this county board going on the straight and narrow all the way. Thank you very much. Okay, the agenda has been put out. How do you find on the agenda? Motion by Larry Crawford, second by Donna Collada, to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Of our minutes of March 9th, 2010, how do you find on those minutes? Motion by Donna Collada, second by Dennis Weddy. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Now we're getting into the organization of county board and election of committees, and we'll start with vice chair.
I nominate Dennis Weddy.
We have a motion to nominate Dennis. We have a second. I have a second by Kirschner. Any more nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Donna Colada.
Motion for Donna Colada, we got a second by Dennis. Any more nominations? Any more nominations? Hearing none. The two have been put up for vice chair. We have to call each one out in order to have a, you want to write it on the ballots? if you want to write it on the ballot,
You
it
wanna do
does not have to be initialed. Put either Donna or Dennis down.
Which color?
Blue.
No. Gonna pass them down. Thank you.
These are all Dennis. And there's Donna. We got 6 Colada and 5 Wedding. So the majority shows that Donna will be our first vice chair. Now for second vice chair, we need nominations for that.
I'll nominate Dennis Whitty.
Motion by, nominate Dennis, second by Everett. Any more nominations? Any more nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed, and only one person, so we like the unanimous ballot cast for Dennis on the second vice chair. We need a motion to that effect. Motion by Kirschner, second by Bill Downey. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved, and Dennis, you are our second vice chair. Now we have Public Works Committee.
Chairman, at this time, I'd like to suspend our bylaws, and I'd like to make a motion that we leave all committees as is. And my reason for that is that we're only 2 years into this reorganization, and I think that some of the people that have been on some of these committees weren't on them before, and it takes a while to learn things, and that's my reason for suggesting this, that we leave all committees as they are right now, but suspend our bylaws.
We have a second to that motion. Second by Larry Crawford.
Now, your motion was to suspend the rules and allow the Public Works, Land, Water, Education, and Planning and Zoning committees to be remain as is.
Correct.
Okay.
To suspend the bylaws, it takes a 2/3 vote, and you will have to do a roll call vote. So if there are 4 people that are opposed to that, the motion fails. Just so you know that.
Does everyone understand the motion and the second to the motion? Apparently they do, so we'll have a roll call vote.
And today, we start all over again with Mrs. Krantz.
Yes.
Mr. Tim.
No.
Mr. Piaski. Yes. Mr. Weddy.
Yes.
Downey.
Yes.
Mr. Eckstein.
Yes.
Mrs. Colada.
Yes.
Mr. Weiss.
Yes.
Mr. Likeness.
Yes.
Mr. Crawford. Yes. Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
We have 1 no and the rest are yes, so that is passed. So we have elected our committees at this present time, is all taken care of. We get down to old business, and there's none. New business, we have some presentations now, and the first presentation is Chris Hintz, of our Sheriff County Environmental Health Specialist. Morning, Chris.
To all of you. You know, when I was asked to do this,
Before you do that, can you move that thing on here? I don't think we
which
need
is this,
that. Yeah, we don't need that now, do we? Thank you.
when I was asked to do this, it's like summing up a year in 15 minutes. It's pretty hard to do, but we'll whip through it as fast as we can. And I have a little bit more interesting slides at the end that you'll all enjoy. again, this invisible profession, what do you do again? Quick story, I have Thanks Mom on there. I was with my grandma turned 100 this year, and we all went down there and I met family that I haven't met before, and my mom was standing there and she said, this is David, David's a pastor, and this is, Cheryl, my sister, and she's a nurse, and went on and on. She said, what is it you do again? And it's true. It's a weird profession. So, and how do you explain it? Sometimes I even ask myself, what really is it? I've been asked to ghost bus before.
That's nice.
Build a little containment. I know Dave's here for the alligators they tackled off the road. You name it. So, it's pretty complex, and there are some, saying cryptosporidium is hard enough, let alone understanding what this is. And if we're doing our job right, typically we won't have any direct contact with state policymakers or local policymakers unless a crisis occurs. Most of it is frontline prevention. It could be in the restaurants. It could even be property cleanup, asbestos cleanup, those sorts of things. So it's designed almost not to have contact with policymakers unless there's an issue. So it's designed to avoid crisis, and sometimes that's really tough to explain a program to people when you're kind of invisible, actually. Typically, there's two aspects to these programs in any county, and it's a licensing program, which I think you're all aware of. It's restaurants, but it's also tattoo parlors and kids camps and pools. And it goes on, and I'll show you a little of that quickly in a bit. But it's also a general environmental health program, which I think you're all familiar with the pictures of, anything from kennels to garbage in someone's yard or some animal issues, rabies. Under that licensing program, these are the basically the licenses that are issued, or the establishments we issue license for and inspect regularly. Most of the time, people are unaware that the tattoo and body piercing also falls under this program. We actually have a local ordinance for that. The rest is through a comprehensive local ordinance and state statute. And why do we do this? Well, this is a local facility we had, but these are a few pictures that make sense of why we do this. And this one was kind of funny. This said, we're not responsible for accidents. That, we want to serve good food, but don't expect safe food. And never underestimate human ingenuity or incompetence. I do gotta say, I love the picture with the ventilated cat. It's classic. And one person's idea of a good to go may not be the same as yours. I like this one though. That looks like a college apartment there. All right, so what does this program entail? Oops, let me go back here. It's 3 counties. It's Waushara, Green Lake, and Marquette counties. There's one person stationed in each county. They're all 3 Waushara County employees. All of those employees are paid for through the licensing program with Waushara County Health Department as the fiscal agent. In total, it changes almost daily, but about 800 facilities. And we hit almost 100% last year. We were about 3 facilities short. And our budget is about, just for the facilities alone, is about 180, and that's under the recreational licensing program. It's very unique, and I gotta admit, it takes a lot of trust for other county boards to allow Waushara County to be the fiscal agent. And it takes a lot of trust on operators to be sending in their licensing fees to Waushara County when they live in Green Lake. So hats off to all of you as well as their boards too, to continue to trust that system, because it's the only one in the state, and it's really unique. There are some city-county entities under the Department of Health, that would be all of those things you saw there with the exception of grocery. And grocery goes under that 20%, that licensing for ag. Right now, currently the state has raised fee structure, and we're below the state fee structure significantly. And in the future, we may raise ourselves up to the state funding level. But we've been able to keep costs down enough to, since 2006, to continue to operate at the rate we're operating. And I anticipate at least another year of being able to do that. This is like slide 101, things you're not supposed to have. On slide 101 is something that's really confusing. So I'll just say really quickly is this kind of breaks down how many establishments there are in each area. And this is just food. So you can see just food establishments alone in Waushara County, we have 149. That doesn't include those pools and the other things you mentioned. And you can see the inspection rate. I had 99.3, Marquette 94, and Green Lake was actually had some re-inspections in there to put it. This year, we were lucky enough to have a 3-year audit from the state, and that takes about a week. And they verify our self-assessment that we have to do every year. They do a record review for about a week, and validation of our standardization processes, going out with us and making sure that we're looking at the same things that the FDA wants us to look at. So it's kind of an interesting process this year, and a lengthy one. And the result was good. It showed that we are in compliance with state statutes and coding contracts. They had a couple of suggestions which didn't come as a surprise to us, and things to work towards in our self-assessment. None of them were contract issues, code issues, however, they were just improvements in the program. So also as part of a program improvement, let's just say I wanted to torture myself this year, and when we had licensing renewals, I thought, why don't I just send out some operator evaluations when we send out our licensing renewals? So it sounds pretty brutal to think I'm going to send out their bill and say, what do you think of us? What's a better way to get an answer, you know? So we tried it. I talked to a couple of colleagues, and they said same thing. They said, give it a shot and see what happens, because we've done it, and you'd be surprised that you get a better feedback when you send it out with their bill. You may get some negative feedback, but that's what you want anyway to improve a program. So real quickly, we asked all our food facilities how you rate the evaluation or inspection services, and we did get 90% or better, which was great in the good and excellent range. Pretty proud of that. And then 94% in asking if they were treated respectfully, fairly. We didn't do so well unfairly. And how well do we do educating when we're out there? That's so other projects in the works is we are looking forward to providing certified food manager training in the county. We have passed our proctoring exams in order to be able to do that. We just haven't set up the program yet to do it. And as part of that too, we wanted to offer our non-for-profit organizations a discount on licensing, because it has gotten so expensive for our non-for-profits to hold an event. Let's say you're trying to do a charitable event for somebody who has cancer, and we're asking you to pay us $336 to have a brat fry. It just seems so counterproductive, but that's what the state has set up as part of their organization on how licensing should work. So staying within that state framework, we started offering some courses where we're asking every non-for-profit in the 3 counties to attend the course if they want to do a food event. We give them the training there, which is most important, and then we discounted their license to about $10 per event, which made a huge difference. very significant or very small violations, things that weren't going to make masses of people sick, they may qualify for an awards, a restaurant award every year. And this year we had trouble doing it because we switched systems that the state put us on, and it kind of eliminates all of the tracking that we had for that awards program. So we're planning on implementing it for a 2-year process next year, and trying to find a way that we can better tailor it to the inspections now that we're on that new system that eliminated our tracking. And then the last thing, I don't know why I just did this, so bear with me. The last thing we're doing is we've put together a industry newsletter that we're mailing out twice a year. And it's basically a little magazine that goes out to every one of the restaurants, gives them an update on food safety information, what we're doing, who we are. It's just a nice little piece. We're also going to try and highlight or spotlight a restaurant in each one of these. I guess it's just trying to communicate better with that industry. So what have we found since we took over? A lot of facilities with no licenses, believe it or not, tons of them, and licensing discrepancies. And we've had a lot of comments of we've never been inspected or never been inspected like this before, and a lack of health policies and temperature abuse and contamination. The reason being, in the past, more of the inspections, and I'm sure most of you are aware that there was a lot of looking at floors, walls, ceilings, equipment, that sort of thing. And the CDC started tracking where most of the large-scale outbreaks are coming from, and that was put into a program where they wanted to see outcomes to prevent those large-scale outbreaks. And obviously, that's not from a dirty floor, although a dirty floor can be an indication of other things. It was improper cooling and, sick employees working and other things that were more temperature related and handling related. So that is more where we concentrate our inspections. We don't usually crawl on the floor anymore and look underneath things like in the past, but we watch more of their process to ensure that large-scale outbreaks aren't going to occur versus some of the cleansing things. So it has changed a lot for these people. No, I didn't find this one in a facility, but I thought that was kind of funny.
Your house.
Protection issue, food protection issues, where you're packing raw meat along with cooked product, and, temperature we talked about, where they'll put hot food in heavy plastic containers, and you can see 82 degrees, that was the next morning. So they don't really cool quickly enough. And in this case, too, where you put raw food on top of different kinds of raw food and just mix a lot of things together. This one I did find in the kitchen, but that's dirty underwear in a washing machine for women's. And you probably heard about the famous snake pictures, but this was a Marquette facility where the septic had collapsed, and we were actually in there for our second inspection to possibly close them anyway for their food license. And a colleague of mine, Nathan, went in the bathroom and lifted up, or walked in the bathroom and turned on the light, and the snake was in the toilet. It was kind of interesting. And you can see that they weren't using the toilet probably because of the collapsed septic, and the stuff was getting thrown out on the side of the building. And campgrounds, believe it or not, I don't think the state ever actually walked campsite to campsite, because there was a lot of this. This is your septic issue here. Carrying those 5-gallon buckets doesn't work. Or this, where they just run the whole thing. Right now, we're trying to decide, we're writing a new campground code, and I'm fortunate enough to be involved in that process, which, yeah, it's kind of like, I got volunteered, so it's not the best thing. But what is a campground nowadays? Is this a campground, or is this, maybe more of a mobile home park? So trying to decide what actually a campground is. Been an issue. This was actually a campsite. Some of you may recognize that. That is actually a camping unit from a military. So what's the advantages of us doing this? Probably the biggest one is we live in the communities we inspect. reason to do what I do and to feel good about what I do. Also, just talked about inspecting with a risk-based inspection. That's very important. Try and limit the risk for a facility. Oh, that local control on the bottom, you know, we've banned a few business practices, I'll show you in a minute, by local ordinance, and this is one of them. It's implants. That can happen under just a general tattoo ordinance, and we believe it's form of surgery, so we have eliminated implants. We've eliminated what they call scarification and branding, and this sort of thing happens in lacrosse pretty regularly. There's your scarification where they actually take skin off, and we consider this more of a medical procedure than a tattoo parlor procedure. That's skin. Disadvantages? Well, I live in the area I inspect. Again, that's the food police syndrome. Oh, here he comes again. Local legislature, you know, you may get involved, unfortunately. I've had some local board members, not in this county, say they're going to spit on my food now. And, you know, I don't know, maybe many of you face times where you thought people would spit on your food anyway. I know Dave probably has. And the other thing is, let's face it, Ruth and some of our other core councils may end up enforcing some provisions on locally owned business that they also have maybe family friends working at, as well as myself. And when do people call their representatives? They call a complaint. They don't usually call to say good things. What can be done about our profession? That, you know, and you're a wonderful board that has provided us with a stage to show you what we're doing. That doesn't happen all over. So training and learning sessions are really important for people to understand what's being done out there that you don't really see. And I also have thought about proposing maybe even a sunset clause for our ordinances to make sure that we're staying relevant and updating the changes in industry. You know, you saw that implant and scarification and branding and things like that. Those industries don't wait for us. And, you know, being able to open an ordinance regularly as part of a sunset clause or a review is really maybe something we should consider. And then providing annual indicators, you know, maybe even that's that survey or that audit annually or biannually. We think we're doing a better job than the state did here. I think our risk has gone down quite a bit. I could show you millions of slides of tracking risk factors. So I think that's gone down a lot. We also respond to businesses a lot quicker than the state was responding out of Appleton area. So I think it's been better. And we'll wait for Ian here, but those questions. General environmental health. Again, this is prevention, kind of on the front line. It's to improve health outcomes for the community. What is entailed in that general environmental health? Pretty much anything that Dave doesn't want to deal with in his business. And I'm kidding, but we have the animal issues that are sometimes just insane. Insect and vectors are kind of interesting. We do track crows and large corvids and birds that die to see if there's, let's say, West Nile virus pretty heavily in one area. Those animals are sent in for testing, and if we have, let's say, a concentration of West Nile virus in a certain area, we'll go out there and do some surveillance of ponds or tires or whatever might be in that area as a source for insects, as well as we could possibly do the same sort of thing for can't see the end of it, and it was dogs. When I asked the guy how many puppies he thought he produced a year, he said over 5,000. He had no idea. Solid waste, typically it's not the small garbage call, it's the big time people, scrappers that we get called out on. It's just stuff that's piled there. You know, and people forget that there's mercury in some of those mercury switches, and that doesn't take very much to contaminate an area of, you know, a person, not only a person, but just groundwater is huge. It really takes very little. PCB ballast, you might have seen. This guy was burying trailers in his backyard. And then housing issues. You got all sorts of hoarders. This guy was a feces hoarder. He thought he was going to make fuel out of his feces, so neighbors were claiming his house stunk, and it really didn't. And hoarding again. Cleanups. This one's a hoarder too. I just, you know, again, when you might say on the non-for-profits doing potlucks or things like that, I'm not trying to scare you too much, but, you know, we try and get cooking on site because this is a very normal family if you knew them, and we were in there for some child issues, and finding, there were all sorts of things in that house, but finding like meat stored there, if you could zoom in, it's pretty bubbly. And asking them, you know, why is this stored here? And they said, well, we're gonna cook it. But you know, when you go to those events, like a small potluck event, you know, you obviously don't know exactly what you're getting. And so it's really important that we've stressed, please cook on site, so that fresh meat and fresh everything is brought to the site. Nobody'd want to bring that meat to the site to cook, obviously. And then this guy, his septic system froze up, so he cut the pipe so it's a drain into the basement. Again, never underestimate human ingenuity. Indoor air, some mold issues and mold complaints we do. Some follow up with human services where we have to have the property cleaned up before someone goes back in. This was a home where some small children were living in as well. Because obviously they speak for themselves. This is mold behind the wallpaper. Those are actually mushrooms growing on the ground. It's kind of strange. Like jelly type looking things in it. We do have a couple other things we are involved in, and we have a small asbestos contract with the state of Wisconsin to do compliance inspections on other contractors doing work, or if there's a general demolition or fire burn, you may have had me, you know, heard of me coming out to those places to let people know that they can't continue to do that anymore. We also do a lead program for the state. We receive a little bit of money for, and that is testing and following up on lead poisoned children. There is some statutory requirements for home renovation and, well, home renovation if there's a lead poisoned child, so we follow up in that manner. We do a kennel inspection in this county. That's anybody who has more than 5 adult dogs. It's really mostly to at least view or keep an eye on puppy mills and those sorts of things, or some neglect and abuse issues. We do receive some money for a radon information center. If you dial a 800 number, 1-800-LOW radon, you do get our office, and we provide radon test kits and radon information for those 4 counties you see up there. And then, you know, there's some emergency response aspects to the job too. And lately, as Penny knows, I've taken quite a few agroterrorism and bioterrorism, food safety terrorism courses provided by the state and FDA to kind of stay up to speed with any of the new terrorism issues. They do believe that the next big terrorism target is going to be agroterrorism because the shoe bomber guy that they found in the plane had a number of ag terrorism plots on a computer. And when they went to Afghanistan and they were able to see some information that they received from him, there had been at least informed on what some of the agro-terrorism and the food terrorism plots are. You know, you think, with Share County, it's not gonna happen here. Well, it'll affect us in a way. And if you also look at the Dells, it's not that far away. That is a great place for a terrorism weapon, even a food weapon, because we have so many visitors going to that area and then expanding out into the states. So, any questions about the program? Sorry it took so long.
Very interesting.
Great.
Scott, you wanna flip the lights back on?
Now we have another presentation from our district attorney, Scott Blader, on OGA grant application.
Good morning.
Hi.
That one is actually a hard track to follow. We actually did an excellent job. And not to be showing up, I do have a PowerPoint. I was just too lazy to put it together. So, just so you're clear, I am Scott Blader. I'm the Waushara County District Attorney. And I thought in this job I have heard of everything, but a feces order, that's new. I have never had a feces order, nor do I want one. So, what I wanted to do is just touch base with you folks a little bit, tell you a little bit about the office, as much as I can in about 15, 20 minutes, and kind of give you an indication of the direction that we're going in the office. Because our office, I do believe, over the years, has really seen a pickup in volume, and we're going to try to adjust and address some of those concerns. Again, I'm the Waushara County District Attorney. Just to give you an indication of what my office does, I'm almost certain most of you people know that, but sometimes there's some misconceptions about what we actually do and how we process criminal referrals and complaints. First off, in my office, the VA's office really consists of one guy. There's one full-time person, that's me, okay, the elected VA. In other counties, they have more full-time VAs. Here, we only have one full-time VA, that's me. I have a half-time ADA, a part-time ADA, for 2.5 days a week, usually Monday, Tuesday, and then up to Wednesday at noon, and then she's gone. Her name is Trish Baker. She's been doing a fantastic job for us. So essentially, there's 2 DAs here, Monday, Tuesday, and half days into Wednesday. But other than that, that is the only attorney on behalf of the state of Wisconsin here in Waushara County. I have 2.5 support staff. That means that I have people in my office that do certain things for us, including drafting warrants, taking care of criminal matters, and doing some victim witness coordination. So what that means is that I usually break down our cases by offense type. Track offenses are usually handled by one of my staff. Her name is Linda. The other criminal matters, including felonies and misdemeanors, are handled by a second staff, Karen Mastrocola. And then I have a part-time staff that I share with Zowski for juvenile matters. So 2.5 staff, backup staff, that do a lot of the work that we're responsible for. And then I have one victim witness coordinator, and she, I think, is 2/3 time. Essentially, she handles all our conversations with the victims and the witnesses, schedules those things up, and makes sure that people appear on time, that people get subpoenas on time, and that they're ready for court and they understand what we need from them when they do come to court. She does a lot of heavy lifting and has really been a major asset. What do? We do just about everything here at the district attorney's office. We prosecute all the crimes, okay? They have to be criminal in nature. We prosecute those and most of the forfeitures in the county as well. We prosecute everything, felonies to misdemeanors, as you would expect. We also do most of the traffic offenses, meaning their speeding citations and so forth. However, some of the towns, municipalities have their town attorneys, like Mark Bickford, represents the city of Watoma, the Granite, Town of Marion. And so if they have those municipalities where they have law enforcement there, he can handle the citations, but he cannot handle the crimes. I have to take those. And so sometimes there's a misconception in that he can handle those things that are traffic citations or even ordinance violations at times, but not the crimes. They all shoot up to my office. Many times, if Mark had the case, because he represents most municipalities, by the way, so that's why I'm saying Mark Bickford. If there's a crime that attaches along with a citation or an OWI, they'll just send the whole works up to my office because I'll handle the crime anyways. It would be odd for him to handle a citation and I take the crime. So generally, we have most of those matters and a good deal of his at times. We also handle the DNR complaints that come through. A lot of the county we have a resolution or not, or this is going on a trial calendar. And if we don't have a resolution and they haven't pled out, then they'll put it on for trial, okay? Currently now, with Sharon, you're probably, you want to get something on for trial, you're probably gonna be real optimistic about 3 to 4 months out. More likely, you're gonna get a number 2 date, you're probably not gonna get something on for about 6 to 7 months. And Judge Dutcher runs it, I think, a very fast trial calendar. So we're not delaying, it's just a matter of how long it takes to get something on for a jury trial. And so eventually that's what would happen. Once that trial is had or a plea is had, after that there's a sentencing and then the matter is wrapped up. That's kind of just a basic run through of what we do. Just so I'm clear as well, we get a lot of calls that we just kind of process and screen out from my girls at the DA's office here. That sometimes don't pertain to crimes. A lot of people calling through with neighbor disputes, dogs running at large, or things that are better adapted for the sheriff's department because they come directly through to us. Just so everybody's clear, it's not that we're turning people away, we're trying to be cold. People, we don't do civil disputes. If somebody has a contract with you and doesn't pay you the money that you believe you're owed, in fact, a lot of people call up here thinking it's theft, but we can't do that, okay? We don't prosecute those things. And just so people understand that all my office does is just prosecute criminal offenses, okay? Because sometimes I have people that'll call up and they think that the DA is just kind of like a public attorney for anybody in the county, and they can call up about divorce issues, or about some guy that didn't pay him on a car he sold or whatever. I really can't comment on those things. I have really no expertise there. All we do is prosecute crimes, and that's all my office does. The difference here is that generally in our office, you're always dealing with criminal offenses, which means you're usually dealing with somebody's freedom. It's not money. It's usually not involved in the money process. So if there's a situation where you're owed money that doesn't belong to you, about the situation where your rights have been violated or someone's been harmed, probably does belong. Okay. Having said that, what I would tell you is this, is that the volume has been somewhat increasing. I believe it has. I would note that when I came here, I looked at some of the numbers that we had in our office. engage in nonviolent offenses who have been charged out are really put through what we call a post-plea diversion system, a system that really is in place to make sure that it's really, they're not being placed in the criminal justice system per se, but instead are being dealt with in a much more informal manner and also in a more consistent manner. Let me explain what that means. What we have is this. We've always been using post-plea diversion agreements in my office. What that means is that if somebody behaves, stays out of trouble, they'll plead to the offense, but they will not be convicted of the offense, and instead the entire matter will be placed on hold for about a year. And during that time, they've got to do certain things. Usually it's drug counseling, domestic abuse counseling, parenting classes, things like that. And if they do that type of counseling, then at the end of that time period, that charge is either amended down, or they leave with a simple fine, or it's dismissed. That post-plea diversion process, all the counties, Pine County, Green Lake, Marquette, have been using for years. But we hadn't used it to the extent that we're now going to be using it. This new ADA will be handling all those post-plea diversion agreements, or a lion's share of them, and we're going to be increasing the use of them on non-violent offenses, because that's what the grant calls for. And so the goal is to make sure that on these non-violent offenses that take a lot of resources from our office, but still are important, but yet still something that we don't necessarily need to put something on probation for or clog up the court system. What we're going to do is have this part-time ADA monitor those offenses, make sure that she engages in plea agreements with the defendants, and try to make sure that she ensures there's compliance with the agreements with the defendants, so that we do the programming, so that they complete the things that we need them to complete. And if they do so, that at the end of that, there will be a mitigation, either an amendment downward or forfeiture, or outright dismissal. And so what I wanted to do is just tell you that the goal of that is to try to make sure that at the end of the day, we don't have an increase in volume of people in the criminal justice system going on probation rules or going to jail, but instead trying to get them some of the treatment that the state is now pushing for them to do rather than being fined. And so we're trying to take some of the pressure off the Department of Corrections. Now, as all of you may know, that's a big issue now. There's just a lot of volume in the Department of Corrections and in prison systems. So there's a real attempt now, or push to try to make sure that those people who are non-violent offenders are somehow screened out of the system, but yet given the counseling and treatment that they need. And the way to do that is try to incentivize them to do the treatment, stay out of trouble, make sure that they're behaving, and if they do so, they get some sort of mitigation at the end if they successfully complete. That's what the grant was written for. That was the grant confines and parameters are, and that's what we actually were able to get under the grant. The ADA position is only for 3 years. It is only for 3 years, and it terminates. It does not renew. The state, the federal government had some of the money brokered through the states, and we applied for it, in the Office of Judicial Assistance actually awarded us the grant. They were supposed to have given us notice in December so that we could hire somebody. We did not get the word that we actually received the grant until April, and so we had to get in hire mode, and now we have somebody finally hired, and we expect that she'll probably be working in May. So we're already about 5 months into this 3-year ADA contract, but hopefully she will be starting. We've already hired her. Okay? Her name is Michelle Spondersi, and she'll be on board, and she'll be handling and monitoring these post-plea diversion agreements again with Sheriff County, Green Lake, and Marquette on that part-time basis. I would also let you know that I don't mean to be, confusing you, because I understand I'm trying to make the point of where we sit, but I think I also may be losing you exactly what we're intending to do. But I do want to make sure that I'm clear about one point. The whole grant was written to try to take some of the pressure off the criminal justice system, and also to make sure that these people comply with those things that we want them to comply with, to make sure that when they leave, we address the underlying issues without putting them in the jail, or without putting them through the Department of Corrections. It was also an attempt to make sure that the rural counties, like Sheriff, Marquette, and Green Lake, have a similar system that's equivalent to some of the larger counties that are adjacent to us. Okay? doing criminal drug court. And I say, well, sure, it doesn't have that. Well, what about a DD course? Do you have something like that too? Do you have that type of thing? They're so familiar with that. We have processing cases that try to keep people out of the probationary system that they really kind of think, wow, we don't have that ability to do what some other counties do. Right now, all we're doing is convicting those people, giving them a criminal conviction, putting them on probation, letting Department of Corrections and a probation agent send them to their counselors, make sure that they monitor them, that type of thing. Other counties are really not doing that. They have a much more formal, I guess, diversion process than what we have. This is our attempt to try to make sure that the rural counties are somewhat consistent with some of the programming that other counties actually allow for their citizens and residents. Theoretically, where do I stand on that? I guess the jury's still out. I'm not so sure that I like the idea that on misdemeanor offenses, somebody completely gets out of the crime if he does his counseling and programming. I'm going to be in control of the programming. I don't think that we're going to allow somebody just to completely off the hook, if you will, if they do complete the treatment. I will probably consider something other than a supervised probation agent, but I don't know that I'm going to be really suggesting that through my office that we complete dismissals, even if people complete the program. Other counties may do that. I don't think Sheriff County will do that. I don't want to incentivize crime. I don't want to have a situation where people complete the program. Okay. I would also let you know that that program is only available for non-violent misdemeanor offenses. We're talking about a fraction of cases here. Okay. You're not going to have any felonies. You're not going to have situations where you have violent batteries where people are beating up their spouses and cutting eyes open and breaking noses. Those type of cases are not going to be in there. What are going to be in there is criminal damage to property cases, kids that smash mailboxes, first-time offenders in possession of THC, paraphernalia, operating after revocation, those people that don't have driver's license, they're driving out there, that's a crime if you actually have no DUI. Those are the type of cases that are going to be in the program. Okay, you're not going to have any drunk and disorderlies with firearms in there, or any kind of batteries or burglaries that are in that program. Just so that puts you at ease a bit. But I do want to take some of the volume off by taking some of those non-violent offenses and putting them through the program. And so again, it's for 3 years, and I think it's going to help us. I think it's going to help make sure that our counties can offer some of the things that the other counties can do. I also think it will take a little bit of the volume off of our office and make sure that we still give some of these people the programming that they would like, or that they need, rather, and to actually hold it accountable as well. The last point I would say is this, is that the program terminates in 3 years. Like I said, we're almost 4 months into the first year. It terminates in 3 years, and when we were approved for the grant, which was in late January, there was a couple things that kind of came up and bit us. One of them was this, that in the second year, each one of the counties will have to kick in about $1,000, okay, for her salary. And I think her salary and benefits will be fringe and salaries about $85,000. It ends up being $89,000 when you include salary and benefits. So she's going to get about a $40,000 salary, and benefits altogether is about $89,000. Because of the cost of health insurance premiums, what the grant in factor in is the overrun for the past 2 years. And I've been told, and the numbers have been solidified now, that in the second year, each county will have to kick in $1,000. I think I can do that on some of the budget that I have already. I think there's some discretionary amounts that I will be able to cover. The third and final year, which is 2012, each county will have to kick in about $3,200, $3,500, okay? And then that program ends. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is at least come to you, tell you about that. It was something we really didn't see, but I guess when we projected it through the Office of Budget Assistance down there, they also projected healthcare costs, and that was one of the issues that the grant really kind of tried to globalize, but really did not specify as best we like. So there will be a certain amount that we will have to kick in for that position, okay? And it looks like between $3,200 and $3,500, and maybe a little bit lower than that. So that's what I wanted to present to you, tell you a little bit about the program in a very convoluted and fast manner. I know that it's hard to understand, but I'm hoping that you guys get the understanding of what we're trying to do, and exactly what would happen and some of the
is the program you're talking about, you know, such as drug courts and things, is that only for first offenders, or?
Yeah, generally, here's what I'm gonna say, I didn't mean to get too bogged down in details, but I always say this, is when I put together the program here, let me just tell you that, when I put together the program here, the people are gonna have to be screened. We're gonna do a criminal history check on those folks. You can't have been convicted, go in prison, jail, 2 to 3 times, and still get this program. You just can't do that. These are for first-time offenders. Usually those people that are between 19 and 23 years old, get a volume of those people. And so that's who I'm looking at putting in that program without any real violent felony convictions out there. And they certainly can't have them through the post-exclusion process. But yes, that's the case, and it would be for non-violent misdemeanors only, not felonies and not violent misdemeanors.
Thank you. The other question I have is about the video cameras in the squad cars. Is this a good tool for you to
It
use
is.
to get convictions?
It is. You know, I was talking to the judge the other day about just the lack of responsibility to see. You know, I've only been practicing now going 11 years, but I can just tell you that when I first started, people used to come into court and say, you know, kind of screwed, get me the best deal I can. Okay. But now people a lot of times just come in and just dispute the facts and completely deny that they ever said anything, and or that they made any admissions. These squad videos are really nice because now we record it. Some of the things that they suggest that my officers said to these people, you know, as their defense, really not on here. Sometimes they admit, you know, for example, hey, is that your bag of dope that I found behind the seat? Yeah, it's mine. And then later on, we used to go back and debate whether the guy ever even said that. And we'd all be reinventing history, is what I call it. But now you can just go back to the squad video. It's also very helpful, I believe, on domestic cases. I don't want to get long-winded on you, but those domestic cases where you have spouses, husbands, and wives beating each other up, quite often they recant, which means one of the parties will just say, no, it didn't happen that way. I'm not going to testify. Those squad videos and 911 calls, things like that, where an officer may have them in the squad car taking a statement from them, are invaluable because those things you can't take away. And those things happen in open field, they happened on that date, and they show her demeanor, they show her crying, they show some bruising and scratching. I think it's a very good tool. I think it's invaluable. I think it's a right step in the right direction.
What you said, you're doing a good job of improving the district attorney's part of the justice system, but I think I heard you say it takes 5 months to get onto the court calendar. Isn't that the problem?
They have a jury trial. They have a jury trial, that's correct. I mean, if somebody wants to come in and state, for example, today, you know, I want a jury trial, we can't get it resolved. Probably gonna be in about, 3 months now to about 4 months out. I mean, you could put you on a calendar, but you're usually stacked number 2 behind that somebody else. So if that case clears, then your case goes and it drops down. But yeah, I mean, at any given time, you're probably gonna be about 3 months out if you ask for a trial today before you're actually gonna get that trial. And in my experience, that is extremely fast for most counties. I know a lot of counties, including Marquette and other counties, you're not getting on for 8 months, 9 months. They're probably scheduling a trial right about now for December. So I think that we're actually doing pretty good. Yeah, it takes time to get on that calendar. And if you think about it, in our county, everything is kind of bottlenecked, both through the DA's office and with Judge Fletcher, because he has one calendar, and he's got to take care of all the divorce cases, all the small claims cases, all the probate cases, and then when the criminal time, or excuse me, when the criminal cases get their chance, he's only got a certain amount of days left allotted on the calendar just to handle criminal matters. So if you take one whole day on the process, it really takes a lot of time away from his calendar and his ability to dispose of cases. Short answer is yes. It's not unusual to be between 3 and 5 months. Right now it's about 3 months, I would say. Any other questions?
On your grant program, does that allow for charges to the people to offset your
Yes.
expenses?
That's a very good point. Yes, actually, the other counties have been doing that for some time, that being Marquette and Green Lake. I think his question was, can you actually offset some of the expenses by charging fees to go through the program? The answer is yes. I think Marquette has been doing it. Winnebago had somewhat the same program for years. So the short story is, yes, you enter in the program, you'll have to pay for your attorney's fees, and yes, you can include like a $50, I think Marquette's got a $150 fee as part of the program. So you got to do all your
questions? Not, thanks very much. Now we continue on. Motion to approve updated travel reimbursement guidelines, in there, and it shows what the, motion, floor, motion by Dennis Waddy. Do we have a second? Second by Everett. Any discussion on it?
It's basically just a cleanup since we've changed committees and we've gone to automated timekeeping systems. A lot of that is the changes in this.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Now it's a motion to approve personal policy changes, and this is also a cleanup. We need a motion on it. Motion by Everett, second by Mrs. Krentz. Any discussion on it? Yes, Donna.
Okay, on page 25, section H, the dress and grooming, I noticed you've taken jeans and t-shirts are not included in this category. I would like to put jeans back in there. I really feel that we have a very professional staff here. I know some of them have to wear jeans, but in the offices, I don't think jeans should be allowed. Because when you say jeans, you're opening it up to, I mean, the most expensive jeans right now are the ones with the big holes in the knees, and, you know, if you say jeans, well, anyway, I propose that we put this back in, that jeans and t-shirts are not included.
Is that a motion?
That's, yeah, well, there is a motion on the floor, but
This is the
you'd
motion
be
for the as
amending
is.
the motion.
Okay, yeah, I would make that a motion.
We have a second to that motion.
I'll second.
By Mike Likeness. Any more discussion on that motion to change amended motion? Hearing none, all in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved for the amendment. Now, back into the motion. We got a motion. We got a second on the floor. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Discussion of possible action regarding confidentially request acknowledgements. Motion by Mike Lakin, second by Donna Colada. Any discussion?
Basically, this was something that was started a few years back, and I quite honestly don't think anybody's been doing this. I think there's probably been a lot of closed session meetings where we're not asking the board members to sign that. And I'm always opposed to having a policy that we're not adhering to, so I was just wondering if we could just get rid of this requirement.
Okay, any other questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been approved. Discussion possible action regarding compensation packages for the 2011 to 2014 term of sheriff, clerk of courts, and coroner. And in there it states what they are. We need a motion. Motion by Dennis Waddy. Do we have a second to the motion? Second by Bill Downey. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Larry, did you have something on that?
I just wondered why we were doing it now,
Do we have to
and
do
just
it?
for these offices.
They'll be taking their papers out in June, and so we have to set their compensation for the whole term prior to them taking their papers out, so they know what,
Applies to these?
that would be just these. And then in 2 years, some of our other elected officials, their terms will be up, so we'll have to do the same thing for the other ones.
It has to be recorded before they take their papers out so they know what the pay is gonna be. Okay, we had a motion and they all said aye. Any objections? Hearing none, all in favor of that say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's been approved. Consider and possibly action on the following resolutions.
Well, we've got resolution 070410, resolution requesting termination of the length of service award program.
Motion by Donna Colada, second by Mike Kirschner.
Maybe Tim could explain a little bit about what this program was.
Yeah, it's, what it is the state, several years ago, came up with the Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
Then we have Resolution 8, 2010. It's a resolution opposing Assembly Bill 644, establishing a presumption for employment-connected communicable diseases for firefighters, emergency medical service providers, law enforcement officers, and certain correctional employees.
Need a motion? Motion by Bill Downey. Do we have a second? Need a second to the motion, second by Donna Collada. Any discussion on the motion?
Did you explain it?
I would be happy to. All right, the state legislature has put in an assembly bill that they want to change the workers' comp laws. Right now, a firefighter, after they've been with the department for a certain number of years, there's a presumption that certain illnesses are related to the job. No matter how they got it, it doesn't have to be proven. It's what it is. They want to expand this law to include law enforcement, EMTs, some corrections officers, and these are things that impact us. What they didn't put in the next bill to expand it was the 5 years and the 10 years for certain illnesses. So it's the day they walk in the door, if they get these certain illnesses, it falls under our workers' comp. And I'm not saying that it's not good to protect these folks because they put themselves in dangerous situations for us, but I think the original rule for the firefighter should be followed and expanded for these folks. Not anything more, just what the firefighters got. And that's what we're saying to them. Just keep it the same.
Any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
Then we have Resolution 9, 4 of 10, resolution requesting the repeal of State Statute 79.07 and restoring the authority of local elected officials to set spending priorities for their local municipalities.
Motion on that? Motion by Donna Collada, second by Dennis Weddy. Any discussion on the motion?
Would you like that one explained also? All right. During the last state budget cycle, they put something in that said, counties, you have this levy freeze, but you can't cut back on your safety spending. Right? So basically, what this does, it started some paperwork that had to be filled out. I think it took Donna Teschner a day to do all the paperwork that was required under this. It's an unfunded mandate, basically, and it's the argument is, it's local control. You folks are the ones that have been given that responsibility to set the budgets, to decide what services are provided, and it should not be the state telling us how to do this. And that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying to them, is that, you know, you give us all these conditions, but you don't let us do our jobs. Let us do our jobs. That's what you're elected for, and that's the message we want to send to them.
Any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
Then we have Resolution 10, 4 of 10, resolution supporting the creation of a joint powers authority to increase local economic activity.
Motion by Bill Downey, second by Mrs. Krantz. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
Resolution 11, 4 of 10, resolution supporting SB 430, allowing municipal employers to change health care coverage plan providers.
Need a motion? Motion by Dennis Weddy. Do we have a second? Second by Donna Collada. Any discussion on it?
So when does this new plan start?
Well, basically, again, we're asking the state, give us some tools. You know, binding arbitration in the state of Wisconsin gives us very little tools to work with, and this is a tool that we can work with. They develop what the standards are for an acceptable health insurance plan, and if you meet those standards, you should be able to go to whatever carrier you can get that coverage from. And that's what we're saying. Give us some tools for binding arbitration.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
We have resolution 12, a resolution accepting donation of property from Karen Fahey for Washera County Park System.
Motion by Mike Likeness, seconded by Everett Eckstein. Any discussion on the motion? Larry?
Has it been determined that Mrs. Fahey actually owns the property?
That would have to be,
Yes, it has. The Parks Committee looked at this property and asked me to begin paperwork. So Scott Schuman and I asked Washera Abstract to do a title search and grant us title insurance. That has been completed. We do have a title insurance policy in place for that property, so that has been looked at.
When somebody puts dedicated to the public on a plat, they don't lose control?
Not according to what we've been able to find. What it was a subdivision where this was an area that was supposed to be kept green. And there's a restrictive covenant in there also that there cannot be any buildings for human occupation or any sanitary systems put into it. So those restrictive covenants would still be in place. And the Parks Committee has agreed to a restriction right on the deed that it would be left in the public domain.
How many acres is this?
This is, yeah, I think it's a little over 6 acres.
more questions? Yes, Donna?
I would just like to thank Mrs. Fahey for her generous donation of this land. Everett has seen it, Scott has been out there, and it's a beautiful area, and I think the citizens of Washera would really enjoy it.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Been approved.
We have resolution 13-410, it's acknowledgement of service of Betty Gellerup, posthumously to Washera County.
By Bill Downey, second by Mrs. Krantz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
We have resolution 14-410, opposing groundwater legislation, Senate Bill 620 and Assembly Bill 844.
Motion by Joe Piasky. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Krantz.
Mr. Schumacher would like to make a few comments.
Mark, you wanna fill us in?
In March, there were two companion bills introduced into the Senate and to the Assembly. The intention was to address the groundwater concerns, the groundwater depletion in certain parts of the state of Wisconsin. And the legislation as it's proposed was reviewed by the Land Water Education Committee, and they felt that it was in the best interest of Washera County to oppose it. Not that they necessarily don't agree there isn't a problem, but what they do have concerns with is the fact that the Senate bill and Assembly bill does not provide any funding for reimbursement for the county requirements. The counties would be mandated to form groundwater management councils. We also believe that the groundwater by statutory definition is groundwater of the state, not the county, and it would be in the best interest to be addressed at the state level rather than the county. We do not have the local expertise. We don't have groundwater specialists or geologists, whereas the state does. And finally, it puts the county in a very difficult position because we would have to develop a groundwater management plan that would reduce the groundwater consumption, and the county would be thrust right in the middle of the debate between the irrigation farmers and the lake property owners, which are the primary concerned people that have introduced this legislation. And so without funding, without expertise, and being put in a difficult situation, we believe this is an unfunded mandate, and it would best be addressed at the state level rather than the county. And that's our recommendation to the county board.
Any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been approved.
Yeah, resolution 15-410, a resolution to support a lakes protection grant to aid in the county code updates required by NR 115 and to designate the zoning administrator as the official representative for the grant.
Motion by Kirschner, second by Everett Eckstein. Any discussion?
I'm going to be real brief on this one. The state of Wisconsin did pass an unfunded mandate, requires the counties to update their shoreline zoning ordinances. The Planning and Zoning Committee is aware of that. We are forming an advisory committee, and there's going to be some costs. The good news is that they do have a program where we can go through the lake system, lake classification, lake grant system, excuse me, and we can get reimbursed for some of our expenses. And that's all this is. If you approve this approve this resolution, you will allow us to be able to apply for a grant to get reimbursed money. So this is a good thing.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been approved.
Then we have resolution 16-4 of 10, a resolution authorizing an upgrade of job classification for the Department of Aging Services Director.
Motion by Bill Downey, second by Donna Colada. Any discussion? Need a roll call vote. This is a roll call vote.
How much increase will this do to the?
Well, it puts her up one step horizontally on the grid. You only go to the spot that affords you an increase. So that first increase is relatively minor. It's probably only about $300 for this year, for the remainder of this year. But it's forever, you know, it would put her at that higher step.
Okay, you ready to roll call vote?
Yeah, we're ready for a roll call vote, and this time we start with Mr. Tim.
Aye.
Mr. Piaski.
Aye.
Mr. Petty.
Aye.
Mr. Downey.
Aye.
Mr. Exton.
Aye.
Mrs. Plata.
Aye.
Mr. Weiss.
Aye.
Mr. Likeness.
Aye.
Crawford. Aye. Kirschner.
Aye.
Mrs. Krantz.
Aye.
Approved. I don't know if you want to take a break now for lunch or what.
How long do you want for lunch?
12:30.
12:30?
12:30. Okay, we'll meet back here at 12:30, where we adjourned until 12:30 to continue with our county board, and then the appointments will be.
What's that? I think so. I don't know. I guess you want Donna.
You, yeah.
Yeah.